How's it going, lads and lasses? I finally got the Mezco 112 Collective Jungle Hunter Predator figure. It's finally here after being delayed for God knows how long. But something's a little off with it. I can't quite figure it out. It just looks kind of funky. Oh, I know what it is. There we go. That ought to do it. So yeah, this is a figure it was announced quite a while ago. I want to say going on a couple years now. I'm just, with everything going on, it's one of the many things that has been delayed quite a bit. And I'm sure there are also some licensing issues with, Fox going over to Disney and whatnot. Plus, this is, it's pretty much an all new mold with a lot of Mezco's 112 figures. They can kind of reuse the same body because, they're using soft goods clothings on top. With this, it's a whole new body where the skin has to be detailed. And of course, there's the netting that probably caused them some issues. But, long story short, it's here now, and we're going to take a look at it. So I just want to take a moment to kind of look at this, detail here, especially on the mask. You have all these, all the pitting, the age marks on there. Even on the eyes, you have the sort of knurled texturing. The skin has some really nice texture going on there. And of course the netting, that's real netting. It's not sculpted on. And even the loincloth, or whatever you would call it, is fabric. So that's really cool. So let's get into the articulation. And the neck has a pretty crazy range of motion here because it's articulated both at the base and where the neck meets the skull. And it's all on a ball joint. So you can get a lot out of that. We've got the plasma caster here, of course, which is hinged there. And it does rotate, but it's a little stiff. And you probably don't want to rotate it around too much anyways, because there's an LED in there and the wiring. I think this might actually be the wiring. If not, it's actually within the joint there, because the battery pack is in the medical pack here. Arm swings out about that far, and you can get a full 360 out of it. We don't have double jointed elbows though. I'm a little disappointed with that, but it does rotate both at the elbow and at the wrist gauntlet there, and that's for both arms. Hands on kind of a disc joint, so it's connected there. It'll rotate there, and then it'll rotate at the base of the wrist. The wrist blades aren't articulated, they're just prop pieces that pop out. And then there's a smaller set that I'll get into when I get to accessories. Wrist computer opens. You don't really have the characters there. It's just kind of painted red. You have an ab crunch, but you can't get too much out of it. There's a waist crunch there. That helps. But it's not, you don't get a good range of motion out of that. That's probably just because of the bulkiness of the figure. Leg kicks out about that far. The netting doesn't inhibit it at all, which is, something I was worried about, but it actually works really well. And then it kicks out that far sideways. You have a little rotation there, right around there. And you do have double jointed knees. So I don't know why they didn't do the double jointed elbows, but you got the knees. I believe that the feet are on a ball joint, so you get a pretty good range of motion there. Alright, that about does it for articulation. Let's move on to accessories. Okay, so the first accessory we have here is an alternate head, of course the unmasked one. And it comes with 2 sets of mandibles. You have the closed one and then the open one. And they attach via a magnet there, so they're magnetized. And it's actually pretty strong. Usually I don't like when things are attached with magnets as far as figures go. But the grip and the pull on these ones are actually really good. You know, not so much that they're a pain to take off, but they're not going to come off on their own just from regular use. So I really like that. I really like the open mandibles. The closed one, it's fine, but it's a little long in the face. Looks better on camera, but when you have it in person, it looks a little bit long. So then, of course, we have alternate hands. I'm going to organize them by the side. So on him I have, for the right hand, I have a closed fist. You have this pointing finger here, which it can be used to grip things if you really want to. But it's, you know, mostly for using the wrist computer. And then you also have an open hand. This is what he's going to have on him by default. You have more left hands than you do right hands. So I have this kind of gnarly looking gripping hand that's good for the skull accessory that I'll get into a little bit later. I really like that hand, by the way. That's the one thing, you know, NECA has obviously done insanely better with the Predator license than McFarlane ever did. But the one thing that McFarlane did that I like, that I wish NECA would have done, is on their Jungle Hunter, that left hand just looked gnarly and cool, and I wish they would have done something like that. This is pretty close, so I'm pretty happy with that. You also get this standard gripping hand. You get a closed fist, and then, of course, an open hand. I showed the fully extended wrist blades earlier. It does come with some smaller retracted ones that you can just pop in, because in the movie Jungle Hunter doesn't really retract the wrist blades all the way. They didn't start doing that in the movies until Predator 2, I want to say. I'm not even sure if they did it in Predator 2. It's been a while since I watched it. But I know in Predator 1, his wrist blades usually stuck out a little bit, and then they would just extend more when he needed to use them. Of course, you can't have a Predator figure without a skull. This one's got some pretty good paint apps for it, and that'll fit right in that hand there. You have an alternate Metacomp pack here, and this one's cool because it actually opens up to reveal all the tools. You can see there, and then it has a compartment that'll slide all the way out. And then you have a plasma caster blast, and I'm going to go ahead and actually take the plasma caster off so I can show you how that fits in there. It's pretty snug. You know, you can pull it out pretty easily, but it's not going to shake out of there. And so here's something pretty cool. I gotta try and get this panel off without... Okay. So you can see you take that part of it off, and then there's a switch, and you have to put the batteries in. And then you have some LED action going on in there. And that carries out into the plasma caster blast. So that leaves us with just a couple of things. I started off this video with him unmasked, in quotes, and the reason why the mask can come off and you have this weird face is because of the LED in here. So the LED sticks out right there. Here's the switch. Again, you have to put the batteries in. And his reticle lights up. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so for our last bit of accessories, pretty standard stuff with all of the Mezco 112 figures is you have the circular stand with one point there. But this one does come with the aerial gripping claw, whatever you'd call it. So that way you can do jumping poses. And to install that, you would just pull out this peg here. You can probably just take like a punch and knock it out there, and then you'd stick this in place. Okay, so let's get some comparisons going here. First thing we obviously want to compare it to is NECA's Jungle Hunter. This is the Ultimate. And of course that one stands taller. It's a little bit bigger scale than the Mezco 112. Mezco obviously has more detail. It's a higher price point. It's a significantly higher price point. This one landed at about $100, I want to say. Whereas the NECA one, when it came out, was about between 30 and 35. What I will say is I believe that the NECA mold is a bit more accurate to Jungle Hunter as he appeared in the movie. I am kind of happy that the Mezco one isn't like an exact copy. You know, Mezco has a bit of a style to it with their 112 collective figures, and I kind of like that because that does help set them apart a little bit. It's not so much that it's obnoxious, but it's, you know, it's just enough that it adds their own flair to their figures. I do like the articulation on the NECA one a little bit better just because it has the double jointed elbows. But that's not to say the Mezco one doesn't have good articulation. It has outstanding articulation. I like having double jointed elbows because you can do things like that with the arm there. Can't really do that with the Mezco one. So something that you might be thinking about when you buy this figure is, or when you're thinking about buying this figure is it to scale with the Figuarts wolf figure? So I have that right here, and unfortunately the Figuarts wolf is a little too short. He might be a little bit closer if I didn't have him if I didn't have his knees bent, but it's still not an exact match, and that's pretty consistent with Figuarts and 112 figures. They're a little bit smaller. So if you were thinking about, you know, kind of having them pose together, you can still kind of make it work. They're close enough that you could probably cheese it with some perspective in your display. And if you have the Jungle Hunter really kind of crouched down low. But if you wanted to have them both standing tall, then it wouldn't look right. So I'm going to go ahead and clear these both out of here because we got one more comparison to make, and it's not a comparison to another Predator figure, but some of you might be wondering, how does this stand up to Marvel Legends and Star Wars Black Series? So I have here my selfie series that I customized. I might do a video on that at some point. But as you can see, it's pretty much to scale because, of course, the Yautja are about a foot taller than the average person. Usually taller than that, but at least a foot taller. And that's about what you're getting here. So it fits to scale with that. So if you wanted like the ideal Predator figure to go with like a Marvel Legends display or a Star Wars Black Series display or something in that sort of 112 scale, this is the perfect one, I think. Okay, so what are my overall thoughts on the Mezco 112 Jungle Hunter figure? To do a too long don't read, I love it. It is everything I was hoping that it would be, aside from the double jointed elbows. I wish so badly that they included those, but I'll get over it. The detail is awesome. It looks great. I love the paint apps. I love especially the pitting on the armor to make it look a little aged. They did a really great job with the armor, especially. The realistic netting doesn't get in the way of any of the articulation, which, again, I said that's something I was a little worried about, but it ended up not being an issue at all. They did a great job with that. And it's just an incredible figure. The accessories are perfect. I love all the LEDs that it comes with. It was worth the wait. I was getting pretty impatient, though, as I'm sure a lot of us were, because they've delayed a lot of their licensed figures, and I think it's because those are more expensive to produce because they also have to pay the licensing fee, of course, and probably the Predator in particular, because I've heard even NECA was having issues for a little bit there with the licensing after Disney bought Fox. That's why their Predator line is kind of slowed down, but it's starting to pick back up. Some more of those should be shipping here soon, and I'll be doing videos on those as those come out. So this is finally here. I'm so stoked about it. It's a must-have for your Predator collection, especially if you want a 112 Predator that will stand up with your Marvel Legends figures or anything else that's in that 112 scale. It's the perfect one for that. Now, like I said, the price point is around $100. I don't think that includes shipping. It was so long that since I pre-ordered it, that I've forgotten the price exactly, but I know it was around the $100 price point. So you will be dropping a lot of money if you want to pick up this figure. And, Predator's one of those licenses where I normally wouldn't spend that much on a figure, but because Predator is one of my favorite, it is my favorite franchise, I had to get this figure. And it's the same with their Ghost Rider, which hopefully will be coming out soon here, and I'll be doing a video when I finally have my hands on that. That one was a much more difficult decision to make as far as the price point goes, but I'll talk more about that when the time comes. As far as places you can pick this up, I pre-ordered mine from Big Bad Toy Store. You can also get it on places like Amazon, and of course you can get them right off the Mezco website. I don't know if they have them in stock right now, but keep watching it and they should eventually have a supply of in stock, so that because usually when they do pre-orders, they will have a certain amount set aside so they can have an in-stock sale. So I'll put links in the description so you guys can kind of watch the spaces, see when they come in stock, and hopefully get yours before they go out of stock again. So yeah, highly recommend this figure. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time.